HOA tried fining me daily for this. What I did next will amaze you. They wanted to fine me $50 every single day for something so ridiculous. You won't believe it when I tell you. But what I did to stop them, it made national news and completely destroyed their entire HOA board. Stay with me, because this story gets absolutely insane. And I'm going to show you the exact documents that prove everything I'm about to tell you happened. The setup: so I moved into this beautiful neighborhood in Arizona last year, thinking I'd finally found my dream home. The HOA seemed normal at first. You know, basic rules about lawn care, no loud music after 10 p.m., pretty standard stuff. But then I made one tiny change to my property that triggered the most insane HOA power trip I've ever seen. And before I tell you what it was, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because stories like this are exactly why this channel exists, to expose HOA corruption and help homeowners fight back. The violation reveal. Here's what started this whole nightmare. I planted native desert plants in my front yard. That's it. Drought-resistant, beautiful cacti and succulents that are literally supposed to grow in Arizona. But apparently, my HOA had a secret rule buried in page 47 of their covenant that said all front yards must have traditional grass lawns, maintained in pristine condition. They hit me with my first $50 fine on a Tuesday, then another $50 on Wednesday, Thursday, another $50. They were literally fining me daily for having native plants in the desert. Escalation and emotion. By week 2, I owed them $700. Week 3, it was over $1,000. The HOA president, this woman named Karen, and yes, her name was actually Karen, started sending certified letters saying they'd put a lien on my house if I didn't pay immediately and replace all my native plants with grass. Grass in Arizona during a drought. I was furious, but I knew I had to be smart about this. So I started documenting everything. Every letter, every fine, every conversation. And that's when I discovered something that changed everything. The investigation deepens. I decided to dig into the HOA's finances because something felt off about these aggressive daily fines. And what I found was absolutely shocking. This HOA was broke. Like, seriously broke. They'd been mismanaging funds for years, and these ridiculous daily fines weren't about landscaping rules. They were about generating cash flow to cover their own mistakes. But here's the kicker that's going to blow your mind. I found out that Karen, the HOA president, had been paying herself a salary of $60,000 a year from HOA dues. $60,000 for a neighborhood of only 43 homes. And get this, she wasn't even qualified for the job. She had no property management experience, no legal background, nothing. The corruption goes deeper, but wait, it gets worse. I discovered that Karen had also hired her brother-in-law's landscaping company as the exclusive contractor for all common areas at triple the market rate. She was approving expenses like $15,000 for Christmas decorations that cost maybe $2,000 at Home Depot. The management company she hired, also owned by a family friend who was charging us 4 times what other neighborhoods were paying. This wasn't just incompetence. This was straight-up theft from every homeowner in our community. I realized these daily fines were just another money grab in a long list of schemes. The brilliant revenge strategy. So here's what I did next. And this is where the story gets absolutely incredible. Instead of just paying the fines or fighting them in court, I decided to run for the HOA board myself. But I didn't just run, I recruited 6 other homeowners who were sick of the corruption. We launched what I called Operation Desert Storm, a complete takeover of the HOA board. We went door to door, showing neighbors the financial records I'd uncovered. We created a Facebook group that grew to over 300 members in 2 weeks. We organized weekly meetings in my backyard, right next to my beautiful native plants that started this whole thing. I even brought in a certified accountant who confirmed everything I'd found. Karen had essentially embezzled over $200,000 from our community over 3 years. Building the movement, the response from neighbors was incredible. People started sharing their own horror stories about Karen's reign of terror. One elderly couple had been fined for having their garbage can visible from the street for literally 30 minutes after pickup. A young family got hit with violations because their kids' toys were in their own backyard. Another neighbor was fined for having a security camera, something that wasn't even mentioned in the original HOA rules. We documented everything and created a comprehensive case showing a pattern of abuse and financial corruption. The local news station even picked up our story during the campaign, which brought even more attention to what was happening. The election was 3 months later. And we didn't just win, we completely swept every single position. Karen and her cronies were voted out by a landslide. The first thing we did, we immediately repealed the grass-only rule and actually encouraged native landscaping. We fired the overpriced management company. Karen had hired her brother-in-law's company, by the way, and saved the HOA $30,000 a year. We eliminated all the ridiculous daily fines and actually refunded money to homeowners who'd been unfairly charged. But the best part, we reduced everyone's HOA dues by 40% because we cut out all the corruption and waste. The transformation. 6 months later, our neighborhood has never looked better or been more harmonious. Property values actually increased by 8% because we created reasonable rules that people actually want to follow. And Karen, she moved out of the neighborhood entirely. Couldn't handle living somewhere she no longer had power over everyone else. The local news picked up our story, and I've since helped 12 other neighborhoods deal with similar HOA corruption issues. We even started a non-profit organization to help homeowners across Arizona fight back against HOA abuse. The key is documentation, organization, and never backing down when you know you're right. Look, I know some of you watching this feel powerless against your own HOA boards. Maybe you're getting ridiculous fines. Maybe your dues keep going up while services get worse. Maybe you're dealing with board members who think they're running their own little kingdom. But here's what I want you to understand. They only have the power you give them. These boards work for you, not the other way around. You have more rights than they want you to know about, and you have more power than they want you to realize. If you're dealing with HOA drama right now, drop a comment below and tell me your story. I read every single comment, and I've actually featured viewer stories in follow-up videos. This channel is all about empowering homeowners to fight back against HOA tyranny. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because I post new HOA horror stories and victory stories every week. Hit that like button If this story inspired you to stand up to your own HOA, and remember, they only have the power you give them. Sometimes you just have to be willing to fight back smarter, not harder. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And before you go, wait until you hear what happened when Karen tried to get revenge on MI 6 months later. That story is coming next week, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. It involves the police, a restraining order, and the most pathetic attempt at sabotage you've ever heard. See you then.